Hey, this is Edward again. I wanted to record today another video on buying boring businesses, and we're going to dive today into a particular industry, and we're going to do a quick overview of the industry because I think that a lot of buyers in the space that are trying to buy businesses either can't decide on what to pick as an industry, and they don't have ideas, they don't really know what to get into. So I'm going to try to record a new way of looking at different businesses and industries, so that way you can get a snapshot of how to think about attacking a market and getting into a market, penetrating a market, and just doing the research and what you should be aware of. So today we're going to talk about waste management and recycling. I think this is an interesting business model to potentially look into when you're buying a business. And the reason is there's a lot of sub niches into it, and there's a lot of volume of contacts. And some of these businesses are fairly resistant to the economy. Um, I really like businesses that are resistant to different recessions. So this is perfectly suited for buyers who are looking to do that. You could potentially acquire something locally. You could potentially acquire something in a different state and relocate. It depends on you and what your financial goals and needs are. But let's get into it. So, waste management and recycling kind of like is diversified in a few different things. There's a residential waste collection, there's commercial waste collection, there's recycling centers, there's also more specialized waste. So, residential waste collection can be essentially a service where you collect waste from residents, which are people, but it also can be regulated by municipalities, meaning you're not necessarily just selling to the consumer only. You're not doing a service for the consumer, but you're doing a service for the whole municipality, so you have a contract within them, right? Very similar commercial waste as you'd have clients, and those clients are not going to be necessarily the municipality, but it would be businesses. It could be industrial clients, restaurants, offices, and so forth and so forth. So that's kind of a primary business model you're in most cases going to see. There's also another side of this business which is called dumpsters in US, which is another kind of waste collection from a lot of different construction debris and so forth. So you can sort of see different listings on that as well. There's also a lot of recycling centers that deal with metals, paper, cardboard, e-waste, and different things like that. Now, to quickly address the most important thing when you're looking into a market is you need to address what is called TAM, which is total addressable market, just understanding how many businesses might exist and how many deals are existing today. So we've already looked at TAM for you. So according to IBs, which is a statistical kind of based website where NAIC codes, I'm going to show you about that as well. There's a little bit over 21,000 waste collection services based companies in US. There's a little bit over 25 based recycling centers. Of course, not all of them are super big, but out of this data, you can sort of see what's available. Now, I've also included that there's around 71 deals available now as we speak from listing sites such as BizBuySell, or of course there's other websites and you can look into that. That cash flow above 250 in annual cash flow, that's not revenue, that's annual cash flow. And that's in just US, United States. So I've just opened up the link. You can see there's around 71 deals just for this particular filter. And it has different kinds of deals related to this kind of business model. Here's a deal in Florida for dumpster businesses that I just talked about. Or here's a septic based business model for 68 in cash flow, and so forth. So you can look up some of these businesses and start doing the work. As far as the NAIC codes, so NAIC code is a code which is essentially associated with a business type in the US, and waste management and what is called remediation services is under 562. And in total, there's around 56,000 companies. So you could go to them and actually purchase curated lists of some of these businesses you're looking to get in front of, to be able to buy and find out who's looking to sell. Out of these amount of businesses, around 2% will sell, in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So you can imagine how many more opportunities you could potentially find aside from the 71 deals in here. What do you want to do next after you see this? So you want to understand the issues in the industry, in this case, in the waste industry or any other industry. And one of the reasons I'm creating this video for this space is so you can start thinking about your industry or getting into this industry or in a different industry and how you need to think about approaching it. Because most people don't know how to actually do this and how to approach it. So you want to understand the challenges in the business model, right? When it comes down to this space specifically, if you're looking into this space, there are quite a few licensing and regulatory intricacies. So you need to be careful about transferability of licensing to you when you become a buyer and you become the owner of that company. There's a few environmental compliances things that you're going to need to look into with the owner of that company and just check in if they're complying to different specific things for that particular business type, if it's a septical or commercial or something else. Because this business model involves vehicles and drivers, you're going to need to do due diligence on that, and then there's going to be some additional permits that they have for zoning and landfill. So you need to look up some of these things. As far as financing in this space, typically financing is going to happen with 7A loans with 5-10% down. This video is made in 2025, so right now to 2025, you can get away with 5 and 10% down. Um, there's 504 loans. I mean, it's not that typical, but it could also get done with that. You could probably also get cash flow based loans as well, or revenue based loans as well, based on the revenue of that business. And sometimes you could find more creative deals where you could do like some sort of smaller down payment, like 10, 20, 30% upfront, and then you could do creative seller financing and structure the deal with the seller instead of you going to a bank if that deal is not bankable from a debt perspective. Custom items to check in this space. So you got to verify all licenses if you're going to be able to get transferred to you properly. You want to review the contracts, essentially the duration, the clauses, the renewals, and you want to look at the trucks, the routes, and the facilities related to the trucks. Um, and you want to make sure that these vehicles are essentially new and maintained. Um, there are different that are called EPA and state compliance history. So you need to check on that with potentially the lawyer that's going to do due diligence that you're going to get. And by the way, we do have a lot of lawyers we can refer you to if you're going to get into our ecosystem. DM me on LinkedIn if you want to find more about that. But in general, that's going to be solved later in due diligence. And then you want to validate seller's discretionary earnings and confirm whatever is a one-time revenue, essentially ad hoc, or whatever is recurring revenue, because that's going to affect the valuation. Ideally, if you're completely new to this space and you're learning about it, just get a consultant, get an industry expert, and visit the operation locally for local due diligence. This is the biggest thing in this space. Now, there's a few things related to value points for like essentially what is gonna add in more value for you as a buyer, and what is gonna essentially gonna give you like more leverage for negotiations. So let's say you're mainly going to be looking at businesses in between 300K in cash flow to up to 2 million in cash flow. Well, the value then will typically be 2x on that cash flow to up to 4x in this space, depending on the business type. Um, and you're going to look into the contracts. For example, if they're long-term commercial or municipal contracts, you're going to have higher multiple versus if it's riskier month-to-month clients that are residential, right? Um, or if you're looking at the fleet and it has well-maintained trucks versus aging fleet and issues with their trucks. Of course, you're going to pay higher multiple for well-maintained trucks. Same with licensing. Either they have violations or they have clean environmental compliance and they have fully transferable licenses. Of course, that's going to be a higher multiple. In case you have violations, a lower multiple. Same with customers. Let's say they have higher retention and low competition in that area. It's a higher multiple. Um, but there's also a higher multiple if there's, let's say, multiple players close to a particular area, and then you can do roll-ups and consolidate some of these businesses. That's still considered a higher multiple deal because, again, you can go and buy them up and you can add them in and you can merge these companies. Owner involvement is any other deal. Either the owner's operating everything themselves, it's a lower multiple, or he's delegating things to a manager or management team in place. So those are the key things. Hopefully this video was helpful. And I think that I'm going to try to do more videos on different industries because I think people tend to specialize in different things and they tend to want to understand more things about the specifics. So hopefully this was useful, but I'm going to create more videos on boring business models like this and niches and industries you can get into. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you need anything else. Thank you. Bye.